It's Burger Tuesday, and it's also time for your art class. Got a really zinger for you today. Two zingers. One, if you've got a whole bingy-bongy bunch of colored pencils, you know, the kind you sharpen, they've got all kinds of different colors and so on, you know what I'm talking about, colored pencils, or a whole bunch of different colored pens, felt tip, very thin, things like that, you know. Or crayons will work. Not as well, but they'll work. Some would say better. Some would say not as well. Some would say nothing at all. Most would say nothing at all. Anyway, a bunch of color things you can grab with one hand. One hand, mind you. Don't use both hands for this purpose. You take one hand. Now, you spread out a piece of beautiful, beautiful paper. Nice, thick, rich, good paper. Don't be cheap. Now you take this bundle, it's called a bundle, or fascia, like the American eagle holds a bunch of arrows. Fascist, fascia, that's what it is. Anyway, you're fascistically holding a group of a bundle of crayons or colored pencils. Of course, if it were really fascistic, it wouldn't be colored pencils. It would be all white pencils only, in which case nothing would show on the paper as you did it. So now you're going to make wavy patterns and squiggly patterns and wiggly squiggly patterns with your hand holding this bundle or fascia of color implements. And they'll all be hopefully everything will be applying to the paper in more or less the same pressure, but if not, press down with your other hand on the crayons or pencils or whatever so that they will all stay the same distance from the paper, so they'll all contact the paper, so none of them are up riding very high and up above the paper. So they're all contacting the paper. All the points are contacting the paper. That can be, you don't have to press very hard. You can press hard, not whatever you want to do. If you're using ink, for instance, you might find that it's very interesting. You can get a very tight pattern with ink, whereas with a thicker thing, a pencil or crayon, you're going to get a totally different effect entirely. So then look at that and see what that is. Now, what else I would like you to do, we have what we call the 5 major food groups. Okay? You have 3 choices of painting, an objective painting, which is a person, a place, or a thing. Person, place, or thing, that's what you got. But in terms of painting or drawing or sculpting, whatever, you have 5 very, very definitive groups. The first group that you have might be landscape, and then you might consider still life as a second, or as another of these food groups, not necessarily in this order. It doesn't have to be in this order. Then portraits, figure painting, and then abstract. And that's your 5 major food groups. And those can be, anything that you paint, anything you produce can be organized into those 5 major food groups. Now, what I'd like you to do is make a drawing for one of each of the food groups. If you follow what I mean, it can be a horse. It doesn't have to be a person, but if you're going to do a portrait of a horse, of a person, of a turtle, a of a distant star, whatever it might be. Portrait of a distant galaxy. You can get a little spray can. So what you're going to do is you're going to use I hope, a fairly small, fairly thin, narrow, thin ink type pen, like a, there's all kinds of wonderful pens that will work for you in this regard, but some great German pens, I would say, that you can find that will work, that are cartridge loads and replaceable. I like the ones that you just throw, because you can use it for a year, and then after a year, the ink dries off anyway. Might as well get rid of it and get another one. Let's see. Yes, so you're going to paint. You're going to draw, let's say, a person. Let's say you're going to do a portrait. So you put the point down on the paper and start to draw. You do not, even for a single microsecond, lift the pen from the paper until the drawing is complete. Now, I don't care how you get where you go. I don't care how you get where you need to be. It makes no difference. But that pen does not leave the paper. That point stays on the paper the whole time. You think that's impossible? I do it all the time. I really highly recommend it, and you will find it to be an exhilarating and very freeing exercise. Not right away. Nothing is right away, you guys. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Nothing is right away.